All animation starts with a storyboard. Those are the important key points of the story. It's important to have your camera angles in there, what type of sound effects you want. For my animation, I even had to put in the different render layers. Each little part or section of my animation was rendered on another layer, and then it was all put together at the end so that I could tweak the different layers separately. For example, the diamond was put on another layer because I could put up the brightness of the diamond so that it can sparkle. But I didn't want that to affect the rest of the layers. I can't have all of it very bright. I had to do that with the character. I had to do it with the character's eyes because sometimes the eyes were too dark. And eyes are very important. There was a lot of research in this animation. Just a simple walk cycle is really complicated. I don't think anyone ever realizes what's involved with just walking. For my character, I had to analyze things like weight shift. On what foot is your weight at what given point in time when you walk? The rotation of the torso, there's a rotation of the hips, and even your feet. They're never straight when you walk. They're always a little bit angled. So all of that I had to look at and keep in mind when I was doing the walk cycle. Also, in the beginning of my animation, there are some light streaks falling through the roof. I had no idea how to do that. So I had to research how to do volumetric lighting. That research always takes maybe between 1 to 3 days. You do a lot of Googling, you watch a lot of YouTube videos, you read a lot of articles, you try what is suggested, then you see it's not working, then you tweak something 100, maybe 500 times. Every time you do a little render to see if it works. It's not right, then you have to redo it. So research really took a lot of time just in getting everything together, how to make the water affect the snake when it's swimming, the color of the snake, how to get it to shine a little bit. The next most time-consuming part was animating. You literally have to take each part of the amateur and move it where you want it to be at a certain point in time and insert a keyframe. So you got your extreme poses where you keyframe the two extreme poses, and then you fine-tune everything in between. The armature has a lot of bones, so you have to do that for each bone, and that's a lot of keyframes, hundreds, even thousands of keyframes. Also, different movements. For example, just grabbing something. You could grab it very fast. You could go in fast, go out slow. The other way around, you can go in slow, go out fast. Or you could do it very slowly. Each action has its own meaning. So now you have to get the timing right between these keyframes so that you can get the right action that you want for your movie, which is going to convey the right meaning. So that's a lot of trying out something, seeing how it looks like, then fine-tuning it, re-rendering it, and you say, oh, it's not right, fine-tuning it again, 2 days later, and eventually you get it right. So, yeah. Music was really a big challenge for this animation because there's no story, there's no animation, there's no advert that doesn't have music in it. Music plays such a big role. It connects with the viewer emotionally. It creates that intimacy. It's what really makes the story. For my animation, I looked at a lot of royalty-free tracks, but they didn't really fit. A lot of them were very dramatic, lots of instruments, very heavy, over the top, and that's not what I wanted. I just wanted a basic, simple music palette, few instruments, few tones, a few notes. Eventually, I found a marimba group, and I really like the idea of marimbas and djembe drums because those are African instruments. And my story is based on Africa, so the two fit together very nicely. I went to go see them. They played me some music, but it's 4 marimbas all together and 2 drums together. It is very heavy, very mushy. So I told them I would be back. So I had to go back home and research tracks and rhythms that are more in line with what I wanted for my animation. Then I went back to the marimba group, I played it to them, and I said, well, I need something like this. And maybe just a few notes, maybe just 1 drum, 2 marimbas. We did a lot of practices, lots of composing, directing, but eventually we got something together that I think is really nice and it really fits with my animation. So I'm happy about that. If you think back to Kolmanskop, it's people that came from other countries, that came from overseas, that came to colonize. So they were not part of the land at that point in time. The hunter in my animation is also sort of a foreign element. He's come there, he's colonized, he's built his house, and now he's using nature for his own purposes. So I decided to pair the piano with Fred, create a musical cue there as a foreign element, and then keep the African instruments with the snake and the nature scenes. So later on, nature disintegrates, but Fred is still part of the scene, so I can bring the African instruments over into the scenes to create that connotation.